4th and 2, empty gun. He throws a deep ball to the left side, and the ball is Bryant. Caught the ball.
That the receiver did not maintain.
Oh, my goodness. And Rodgers back and throws it down the field, and it's caught at the 34-yard line by Jared Cook. Crosby for the game, 51 and away. It's good, and the Packers win the game.
Sometimes history can breed hatred.
Knowing what this game means for the Dallas Cowboys,
there's no way they've won a Super Bowl more than we do.
Two iconic brands built on the success and failures of the past.
there is no time to learn. There is no more getting better. They just want to go home at this point.
Meeting again with future glory on the line.
At the end of the day, this is my team. I'm a Dallas Cowboy, and it's make sure I'm doing my part, and that's pouring everything into winning this game.
Hey, the talking's over. It's time to go show out.
It's the Cowboys and the Packers with survival on the table.
Stay in the moment and dominate all day. Cowboys on three. 1, 2, 3. Cowboys.
Days ago, the Dallas Cowboys touched down in Oxnard, California for a training camp full of possibility. A 12-5 season and an NFC East crown would follow, but today starts a new journey, one where seizing everything is the only goal. It's the wild card round in 2023 as the Dallas Cowboys welcome in the Green Bay Packers. Hello, everybody. Welcome in to Pregame Live from AT&T Stadium. We are sidelined for the next hour, getting you ready for kickoff for Wild Card 2023. We are, as always, brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resorts. We've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and the great Nate Newton down there at the end. We've got Nick Eatman, Nicole Hutchison, Nick Harris, and a slew of guests coming up here over the next hour or so as we get you ready for another historic meeting between these two franchises. But this is where it matters most, Barry. 12-5 division champs, that's all great, but it all doesn't matter if you don't get the job done tonight.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is a marquee matchup right here. It's the playoffs right now, and where else would you rather be? You know, you got a team in Dallas where all the preseason goals are set out in front of them. All they have to do is go out there and get the job done. And Green Bay stands in the way with a quarterback named Jordan Love, who's been on fire as of late. So this makes for must-see TV in AT&T Stadium. And to me, Isaiah, I'm just glad I'm here to witness it.
Must-see TV at AT&T is exactly right. And the Dallas Cowboys, going all the way back to training camp, you set out your first goal to be to win the NFC East. Yes. Dallas Cowboys took care of that. Now, because you took care of that, you're giving yourself home field advantage, where you are 16-0 over the last 2 years at the crib, and now you get to welcome in the Green Bay Packers. We know there's a lot of emotions. We know there's a lot of other storylines around it, but ultimately all you have to do is win the ball game today, and you're exactly where you want to be.
And that winning the ball game does not matter whether it's 100 up by 100 points or 1 point. You play a clean game. You don't turn the ball over, and you play with great confidence. If this quarterback and offensive line play well today, this will be a nice game to watch.
No doubt about that. And of course, it is a little bit of a later start, 3:30 Central Time on Fox. And you talked about it. The present is what matters most. The history doesn't necessarily matter, but it does add a little bit of fuel to the fire. This is the 9th all-time meeting between these two historic programs, all tied up at 4 apiece. This rivalry really ramped up all the way back in 1966, their first playoff meeting. It was in the NFL championship. Wasn't even the NFC and AFC yet. It was pre-merger, and the Packers went on to win Super Bowl I. Then 1 year later, a similar scenario, but it was much colder. It was the Ice Bowl. Still the coldest game on record at kickoff. Negative 13-degree record. Green Bay would win that one again. They would go on to win Super Bowl II as well. First two didn't go Dallas's way, but fast forward to 1982, Dallas would notch their first playoff win over the Green Bay Packers. Then in back-to-back years, 1993 and 94, Dallas would dismantle the Packers in the divisional round. Big help from Nate Newton along the way in those games as well. They would meet again in the 1995 NFC title game, where Dallas advanced to Super Bowl 30. Their third Super Bowl title in 4 years would erase, and that was 4 straight for Dallas in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. Then 2014 happened. The Dez caught it game. Barry, you were on the field for that one. The controversy over the 4th and 2 reception overturned. Dallas gives it up. Green Bay wins that one in Lambeau. And then in 2016, back here at AT&T Stadium, Dallas held the lead late before Aaron Rodgers drove down the field for a Mason Crosby game-winning field goal. Lots of history between these two franchises. Some good, some bad, but another chapter will be written today. How will this game be remembered? That's the number one question on the table.
Yeah, I think this game will be remembered as one of the all-time greats when you talk about what each team brings to the table. Jordan Love and his offense versus this Dallas Cowboys defense led by Dan Quinn and the crew. It's going to be a marquee matchup. But to me, what the big-time thing is going to be with this game, what it's going to come down to is, to me, making sure Jordan Love is uncomfortable. This is a guy who's been on fire as of late. Last 6 games, 18 touchdowns to just 1 interception. This guy is feeding these young wide receivers out there, and they're riding on confidence right now. So the easiest way to douse all that is to make this man uncomfortable from the jump. Hopefully Parsons and the crew can get that done.
Yeah, and I would love to see them make him uncomfortable, because in reality, I think this game is going to be composed of the 2 quarterbacks that are at the helm. You got Jordan Love and you got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was in the MVP conversation all year long. Why? Because he had 36 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Well, there's a young Jordan Love who this is his first year starting ever since Mr. Aaron Rodgers decided to leave Green Bay. And this dude was right behind Dak Prescott by having 32 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, all right? So this dude is right behind him. He's taking care of business over the last 8 games. This dude has 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. Dallas, you better get after this man. Otherwise, he can make you pay.
The big difference here is youthfulness. The Cowboys are the Green Bay Packers are number 1 as the youngest team.
Yeah.
Cowboys are number 2. But the big difference is we have 3 years of of playoff experience.
Yeah.
And with that right there, I think we have the better quarterback, and that should lead us to victory.
That's a huge thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, how these two teams compare. But let's compare this Dallas Cowboys team to the last 2 Dallas Cowboys teams. You talk about playoff experience, at least entering the playoffs. Here are the numbers for points per game, yards per game, points allowed, and yards allowed. Defensively, offensively, very similar numbers across the board. Some areas, Dallas is better. Offensively, you could argue they're the best they've been over these last couple years. Dak Prescott's been playing his best football. Defensively, maybe not as dominant from a pass rush standpoint, but points per game allowed and yards allowed, they're actually better here in 23. So, Isaiah, I'll start with you on this one. Compared to the years past, how do you feel like this Dallas team stacks up?
I feel much better because of the fact that we are sitting right here in AT&T Stadium. But we know at AT&T Stadium, these guys, they score more points. Their turnover margin is substantially higher. They don't allow as many points. So all the positive statistical categories that you can have by having home field advantage, Dallas shows up and shows out, and that's what's going to come down to today.
Yeah, I believe the difference also is all 3 of your main offensive pieces are all on the same page. When you talk about McCarthy, Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb, McCarthy understands who his number 1 priority out there is, and it's CeeDee Lamb, and he finds ways to get him the football early and often. When you look at Dak Prescott, he's been executing these game plans to perfection, making sure he's taking care of the football and getting his playmakers in space. We all understand what this defense brings to the table, but to me, the biggest difference is the consistency of this offense, especially at home.
You know, it's still experience, fellas. These guys have the experience. They have the know-how. They know how big each play can be emphasized if it's a bad play. And you know what? Michael Parsons is starting to play the run very well.
Yeah, and let's go back to the offensive side, because Barry talked about the consistency. Isaiah talked about playing at home. Dak Prescott's been good no matter where he's been, but this is what his numbers look like in the playoffs. He has been good, but he's also had some ups and some downs. Nate, when you look at Dak Prescott, has he been set up the best this year than any other campaign?
Oh, yes, with the play calling with him and Coach McCarthy been doing this, it's been superb. Dak is using his legs not to just make first downs, but to escape rushes. His offensive line has always not been that very consistent, but Dak has been consistent in who he is, and especially his decision-making.
Yeah, I think his decision-making is really the key to this, Nate. And you start talking about whether home field advantage, whether you're playing away, it really doesn't matter. This offense is set up for Dak to be successful. If you can find a way to add a consistent running game to what he's already bringing to the table, I think this offense becomes unstoppable.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we all understand what Dak Prescott has done during the regular season. season. We get all the accolades and being in the MVP conversation. We get all that. But this game is going to come down, at least in my eyes, to his decision-making, being able to take care of the football. And we've seen him be able to do that all regular season long. Last year, the defense played outstanding against San Francisco in the playoff game. But what happened was the turnovers with the offense was the main reason why they weren't able to do that. If Dak Prescott's able to come out here, take care of the football along with this defense, I believe, like you just said, they can be unstoppable.
How much pressure is he under tonight?
I think he's under a lot of pressure. I mean, because everybody wants to know what can Dak Prescott do in the postseason. We all seen the regular season accolades and what he can bring to the table, but this is pressure, and this is where it mounts and where quarterbacks make their name is in the postseason, and hopefully Dak Prescott comes to play this Sunday.
You know what? I don't think he's under tremendous pressure. It seems just because of the fact of what he's faced in the last portion of this season. He's faced some of the better defenses that this league has to throw at him in terms of and offenses, right? In terms of trying to keep up with scoring points. I don't feel like Green Bay proposes that same issue on defense. These guys don't have a solid front seven. They did okay in terms of pass rush. Their rush defense is at the bottom of the league, and I think that you can take advantage of these corners. I don't think they have the personnel to match up against your receivers. So in terms of Dak's ability to be able to go out there and move the chains and score touchdowns, I see this as being any other week, aside from the fact that if it's a playoff win or go home.
He is the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. There will always be pressure. He will be judged against the greats of Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, and guys of that ilk. Until he just get into the NFC Championship game, there will always be pressure, and Dak knows this.
And even then, there's going to be pressure because of the brand that he plays for, the position that he plays. He knows that as much as anybody going into this, and he has supreme confidence not only in himself, but in his team. Here's what he said about going into this playoff push earlier in the week.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off with just the team that we have first and foremost, but then, I talked about all year running our race, and then just being able to do that through the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of the season, and still, getting the 2 spot and having these home games here in our hand. It starts off with taking care of this one, and that's – we can talk about the opportunity, this and that, but the opportunities right now, it's this game, and I'd be getting ahead of myself if I didn't say it was today and the rest of these meetings and our approach. We started off with a great week, and we want to make sure that we finish it that way, and that's where the confidence and everything comes that you need going into this game is from the preparation throughout the week.
Going back to the confidence, have you felt better about yourself and where you are going into the playoffs than you do right now?
I've always felt good about myself, a lot of self-talk. But, it goes within the guys around me as well. I mean, the players around me, the coaches, the system that we've created, the culture that this team has. It's not just about how I feel about myself, but it's about these other guys, the confidence that they give me, I should say. I don't know if I've had this much confidence or a greater feel than I have with this offense, with this team, with our approach and how we're going to go and take care of things.
So that Dak Prescott, of course, with the confidence level from not only a phenomenal regular season, but with the setup here at AT&T Stadium as we welcome in Nick Eatman for the first time tonight. Nick, I mean, this is atmosphere level 1,000. It really feels like it, and even maybe it's because it's cold outside and everybody needs to get in to the warm of AT&T Stadium. How does this compare just feeling-wise going into it?
Compared to other ones or to last night's game?
To playoffs.
Because last night's game, we don't want any part of that. I don't know what y'all's definition of football weather is, but I don't know. This seems fine to me. This seems like fine football weather. No, atmosphere-wise, obviously, it's going to be good. And, college, like the college bowl game type atmosphere, I'm not saying it'll be 50-50, but anytime you bring other fans into the mix together, they kind of raise each other's level. So the Green Bay fans, they're strong. You can already see them in here, hear them in here. It's going to be a great atmosphere.
We talked a little bit about the history of this rivalry and the playoff battles that they've had back and forth. I mean, these guys have been a part of them. How much does that play a factor in the current player's mind, or does it play any factor whatsoever?
I don't think at all. I mean, and y'all can speak to this too. I mean, did the Ice Bowl matter to you when you played, the Packers? And so, I don't think it's one of those situations that matters to them. I think it matters more to their, to the Cowboys head coach, more than anything. But I think he's trying to kind of dismiss that. I don't think it matters at all to the current players. I think they're pretty locked in and focused.
What does the offensive line health look like right now? Last week, missing both of the guards, Tyler Smith and Zach Martin. Do you feel
is that a big deal? If you miss your starting guard,
it's a pretty big deal.
Is that a big deal?
It's a big deal. We like our guards here on the show.
Yeah.
What is the expectation for them tonight?
Sorry.
What is the expectation for them tonight back in the fold?
Tyler Smith, I think Zach Martin, both of them are going to play, and you guys know how important that is to just the continuity. I think for next year and down the line going, they got Bass and Hoffman, we've seen them. I think that helps down the line, but I think, more than anything, they want these two to be in here, the continuity of them surrounding the center, which I think he's had some issues during the season, but for the most part, I think, from left to right, this is as good as it's going to get.
So, Nick, not individual players out there, but to you, what unit on the football field needs to go out there and perform well in order for the Cowboys to get a W?
Man, I kind of think it's the receivers and quarterback. I mean, you can go all day long, but, it's my best versus your best. I think the Cowboys will win. They have to be playing at their best. And so if CD is in that 135 catch range and Dak's doing his thing and they're looking like the all-pros that they are, then I think it's going to be hard for Green Bay to kind of match up with that.
Yep.
It is an interesting matchup back and forth. You didn't say cornerback. Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Is he expected to play with that shoulder?
That was going to be my next guess.
Okay, that was the next.
That was my next one. I mean, I think, he's good. I mean, he said it, he said it was 7 days ago. He said, he just popped it back into place, good to go. That seems a lot more painful than he was making it out to be. But, 7 days ago, he was like, I'm good to go. I think he's good to go. He wasn't even listed on the injury report as a questionable, probable, anything like that.
Isaiah, you dealt with an injury very similar to that.
Very much so. I've had 3 labrum tears. My first 2 years here in Dallas, I played through with both seasons with my labrum popping in and out, very similar to what he sustained. So I can't project as to what he's personally experiencing, but I can say from my experience that it's going to be very difficult for him to play the type of ball that he's accustomed to playing with that shoulder.
And especially if they like to run at him. Aaron Jones likes to run. They run wide a lot. They may not test him as much going deep as they are running the ball at him, and that might be a situation they got to look at.
Aaron Jones specifically, he's had some really good games against this Cowboys team. What do you feel like elevates his game in a matchup like this?
Well, because he can do everything. He can run, he can catch, and you think he's going to block, he's going to stay in the block. They dump it over the defender's head, and then next thing you know, he's out in space with blockers in front. So, and he's one of the, I think it's 3 guys that's actually played for McCarthy with Green Bay. So that all this talk about, familiarity, there really isn't any. They don't know him, and he doesn't know them other than a couple of guys like that.
So, final question before we let you go. If you had one word to describe how you feel like this game's going to go tonight, what would it be?
One word to this game?
Offensive guard.
Offensive guard.
That's 2 words, Nate.
I mean, just inferior.
Inferior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they are. I don't think that they can match. I really don't. I know there's a lot of talk about pressure. Just who's this team can just go out. They're playing with house money, but who would you? Why? The answer to me is why. Why do they feel like there's no pressure? There's more pressure on the Cowboys because they're a better team. They got better players, and they've shown it all year long. Just go show it here today.
And they've got higher aspirations. I mean, the T-shirts that are being worn tonight don't say seize the wild card.
Right.
They say seize everything.
Which starts today.
Exactly.
This is part of it.
Today. So
they're in the way.
There it is. Nick Eatman joining us here on Pregame Live. Appreciate you, Nick,
Thanks,
as always. Let's hear from Stephon Gilmore talking about playing through some of that pain and making sure he's on the field tonight.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys go through a lot of things throughout the season they got to play through. So it's just another thing myself. I done played through a lot this year, so that comes with the territory, and you just got to make it work. So
your mindset is you're playing Sunday?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
What do you tell these younger guys about the playoffs and that kind of thing?
Nah, just to take advantage of the opportunity, don't let it slip, because, like I said, it's hard to get here. It's hard to win, so you got to be prepared, got to go in and earn a right to move to the next round.
Is there an example of something different in this postseason compared to previous experiences you've had in the postseason?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we know what type of team we have. We're preparing like that, and I think everybody's getting ready. We at home. We're looking forward to it, so it's going to be fun.
So here's a look at the inactive list for the Cowboys tonight. And, of course, no Stephon Gilmore on that list. So that is a win early in the afternoon for Dallas Cowboys Nation. A lot of the normal names on the list, rookies like Eric Scott Jr., Austin Richards, Jalen Brooks, Tyrus Wheat, Viliami Fehoko, Matt Miletsko, who's still working his way back from shoulder surgery earlier in the season. Then Trey Lance is your emergency third quarterback. So let's talk about Stephon Gilmore. He is active. He's expected to play. We kind of anticipated that throughout the week, but how big is that to have him available tonight?
It's huge. It's huge when you have your veteran cornerback there. And for me, the best cornerback on this team out on the field with you, it has to be huge for this defense. When it comes to Gilmore, I believe this is going to be more about pain tolerance. You know, I don't feel he'll have a problem covering these guys up. I think his technique will cover all that for him. But as far as his physicality is concerned, like Nick was talking about, this is a guy where the physicality kind of made him who he is because he's not afraid to stick his nose in there with the run game or to bring down these bigger receivers. So I want to see how much pain he can tolerate with that shoulder being in there as far as being physical in this game against Green Bay.
Yeah, just speaking from experience, Barry, it really just comes down to whether or not he wants to deal with that pain or not.
Yeah.
And the biggest battle for him is going to be psychological warfare within himself. Does he go out there and put himself in a position where he knows that his shoulder is no longer in a sound, stable position? That harness that he's most likely going to be wearing is going to be doing a lot of work for him. Whatever medicine he has coming to the game is going to be doing a lot of work for him. But when it comes up to, am I going to put my hands on this guy? Am I going to put my arms in the air to go out there and try to get this interception? Am I going to hesitate to go out there and make plays that I would typically instinctively make? That's going to be his own battle that he has to face today, not as much as the Green Bay Packers.
We're talking about a veteran guy that's been through the wars. He's not had this injury before, but he's been through the wars, and he knows that in the West Coast offense, with them trying to get it out of there fast, he's going to have to come up a lot of times and redirect things. So I think he's already accepted that.
And by the way, with Stephon Gilmore being active on the Cowboys side of things, both Jair Alexander and Christian Watson are available for the Green Bay Packers tonight. Both were questionable going into the game. Both are going to be playing. Let's start with really the guys that are going to be guarding one Christian Watson, who had 3 touchdowns in the Cowboys game last year, Week 10 of the 2022 season, and that's Deron Bland, the All-Pro, first-team All-Pro this week. I mean, what do you expect out of him today, Isaiah, whenever you look at this secondary?
What we've already seen all year long. That's him being willing to answer the call. This is the biggest platform that he's ever been on, and I'm looking forward to him continuing to show up, be a constant, be a consistent piece to the secondary. And if they decide to loft the ball, like we've seen Jordan Love the ball seems like it's in the air for about 20 minutes at times, I think Deron Bland's not the man that he wants to do that against.
You know, when rapping with Coach Al Harris, man, before this game and during the week, man, he teach guys to make plays. So I'm quite sure he's got with Deron Bland and say, right here, if you see this, take that shot. And so you're going to look for him to take that shot today, along with playing great technique the rest of the time.
Yeah, I expect Deron Bland to be who he's been all season long, and that's a ball hawk. I mean, if you look at it last year, since entering the starting lineup, this guy is the definition of a ball hawk with 14 interceptions out there. And I don't know what Al Harris or Joe Witt Jr. they're teaching these guys, but they need to keep it up, all right? Because if you look at these numbers that Bland's putting up, that Diggs is putting up, and they're unheard of the way they're able to take the football away. So kudos to that coaching staff and Deron Bland. Hopefully have a big-time game this afternoon.
Yeah, Deron Bland, the second Cowboys defensive back to lead the NFL in interceptions in the last 3 years.
It's unheard of.
2 different guys in 3 years. You can hear of guys repeating or doing it 2 or 3 years individually, but they had 2 separate guys do so. It really is impressive. That brings me to the question, though, of how much depth is at the cornerback position? Because if one of these guys goes down in the middle of the postseason, do you feel comfortable with what they have behind them?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Kyle. This makes me extremely nervous. If there's an injury to anybody in that cornerback room, it's going to be bad news. Because if you look at it, I believe the top 3 guys, when you're looking at it, Jordan Lewis, Gilmore, and Deron Bland, I think those are your top 3 guys. But the drop-off from there is to me, is significant when you look at it, because the next guy up is, I believe, Noshawn Wright. And nothing against him, but he's not the corners that those other 3 guys are. So I do not want to see any of these guys get injured, and I don't believe his coaching staff wants to see that as well.
Yeah.
No, none of us want to have to go to that depth, but if we should have to go to that depth, I actually feel pretty confident in it, especially against this Green Bay group. I don't think that Dan Quinn's going to put them in a position where they have to come up and play press man coverage. I think he's going to play them off if they are in a position to have to be in the game. And with the style and attributes that these guys have, long, lanky, and they can run, that puts them in a great position to be able to go out there and be either some pass breakups or even have an opportunity to pick some off versus Jordan Love.
If we was to lose one of these guys, but what coach is going to tell these guys, technique, technique, technique. Play the defense, play your responsibilities, and that alleviates a lot for a young guy when he got to come in and play in a playoff game.
You also have some veterans mixed in that group as well, Jordan Lewis, and then I'll throw in Donovan Wilson just because he's at the safety position behind him, and they've gone hand in hand these last couple weeks of forcing some takeaways. How big, Nate, have they been stepping up over these last couple of games?
Man, Donovan Wilson is healthy. Y'all call him Dono. I think he's done a great job these last 4 weeks. And Jordan Lewis, that's always been my man. He is it.
Yeah, Jay Lewis is definitely a dog, man. The safety position between all three of those guys, Curse, Dono, and Hooker, all of them have to continue to put in work. Donovan Wilson, I'm looking forward to him having more of a physical impact with this defense. The man that has been the physical guy in that secondary to date has been Malik Hooker and then Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis is rated as the second best run defender on this team right now, and he needs to continue to show up for this team.
Yeah, without a doubt. I expect turnovers from all of these guys, and that's what they bring to the table. Like you just said, Dono going out there, being that enforcer, setting the tone for this defense, and Jordan Lewis, the crafty veteran that he is. Did you guys see that forced fumble that he had last week, I believe?
Impressive.
It was impressive. It was unbelievable, but that's the type of ball skills that this guy brings to the table, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this secondary can do against Jordan Love and those explosive wide receivers.
He feels like there's a connection between Jordan Lewis and Donovan Wilson in some of these late season turnovers. He talked about it earlier in the week.
It's always been like that ever since he came in 2019. We've always been going back and forth, getting turnovers. So it's definitely a good feeling to see my guy getting turnovers too.
Dan Quinn said that you both are fighters, and that's eventually it's all going to work out when you have a fighting mentality. Would you describe you both as?
Yeah, I feel like that's my mentality. Every time I go out there, it doesn't matter what happens. Just go out there and fight. So I know I'm one of the best fighters. Around the league. So wherever that takes me, I'm ready for the situation.
You talk about the challenge of going against youth in a playoff game where they might not understand the magnitude, so they play a little bit more loosely. It's
reckless and wild. They're going out there firing, honestly. So, they got the firepower to do it, or they got the quarterback to do it. They got some really good skill positions to go out there and, operate the way, they have been doing. They've been putting up some points, going into the postseason. So, we're just trying to, shut them down because they definitely got some guys that can take the top off the defense and, run the ball really well. So we just want to be ready for, however they want to get down.
Jordan Lewis knows the challenge at hand today here at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Wild card round 2023 as the Dallas Cowboys face the Green Bay Packers. 9th all-time playoff meeting between these two franchises. And we welcome in Nicole Hutchison for the first time.
What's up, y'all?
Everything good? This is your first playoff matchup, right?
Hey, man, I'm excited. So excited. I never thought that I would actually be here, but listen, blessing.
Yes,
blessing, but a blessing. But, guys, I talked to some of the players earlier this week, and they kind of talked about, they know the history, of course, with Mike McCarthy, his success in Green Bay, right? The Super Bowl win, 8 postseason appearances, but they know that this is a one-time opportunity, right? And McCarthy knows that this is not about him, it's about his guys in this game today.
As an NFL head coach, it's not uncommon to run into familiar opponents.
Mike McCarthy, coach, step in here. All right.
But it's not every week a guy comes face-to-face with a team he won a Super Bowl with. That'll happen for the second straight year when Mike McCarthy faces the Green Bay Packers. But this year, he's leaving the storylines to the storytellers.
Yeah, the drama of it, I'm sure you guys will love. I will not participate this year. But, no, it's playoff time. It doesn't matter who we play.
McCarthy, not a man of many words this week when speaking on his time at Lambeau, and there's a grocery list of why. In 2010, McCarthy led the Packers to the only Super Bowl played in AT&T Stadium against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in 2015 and 2017, the Cowboys' season ended at the hands of McCarthy in Green Bay. Now as the head man in Dallas, he hasn't had any success against his former team, losing recently in overtime in 2022.
Last year, I thought it was important for me to talk about, Green Bay in the beginning of the week. I did with the team. I regretted it. That doesn't even need to come into our energy base. So you live and learn. This game's about our commitment.
By him not having a message, that goes to show he doesn't care about
in a sense, the history. He's not making it about him. He's making it about us, and that's going in and getting a win.
Carpe Omnia. It means seize everything. And so far, McCarthy's living up to it. He's the first Cowboys head coach to post a dozen wins in 3 straight seasons. And a victory on Sunday would inch him closer to ending the Cowboys' NFC Championship appearance drought. It's a sense of urgency throughout the locker room.
Obviously, we've had the same success as far as getting to the playoffs and then the same record. But just mentally being focused and the experience is everything. I feel like we have a lot of guys that's also been on the team for quite some time, and we all went through the same, scars, and we're not trying to feel that again.
McCarthy's undefeated when the Cowboys and Packers face off in the postseason. Only this time, he's looking to get one for the boys.
It's opportunity. Yeah, I don't know why we're on this pressure kick today, but yeah, I mean, it's a football game. It's a very important football game. It's all about an excellent opportunity that we prepared ourselves and we put ourselves in this position, and we earned it, deserved it, and most importantly, we're going to take advantage of it. The theme is Carpe Omnia, seize everything. So presented it to the team today.
It meant a lot to me because the way that he broke it down, it's not just seizing the day, but seizing everything that we approach, and ultimately trying to get that goal.
Carpe, seize, Omnia, everything.
Everything you can want is right here for the taking.
Explosion. Oh my God.
Take that. It's bland. It's bland. You gotta go take that. I'm talking about take that your heart, take that your soul, take that your will. We the ones.
We must seize this moment. We must seize this day. Cowboys Nation, we must seize it all. Let's go!
Everything on the table for the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, and the entire crew. They've had a phenomenal run over these last 4 seasons whenever both are, of course, available, with Dak Prescott missing much of the 2020 season. But you talk about what they've done in the playoffs. They've at least won a playoff game, but still not the same success that they would like. What is your confidence level in Mike McCarthy this time around as he goes up against his former team?
Well, my confidence level in McCarthy is pretty high right now. I mean, this is a guy that has led a team to the mountaintops and winning a Super Bowl, so he knows what it takes to get his team there. Fortunately for him, he's led with a quarterback in Dak Prescott, to me, who has the best wide receiver quarterback connection in all of the playoffs. So his offense is going to be straight, and defensively, they're led by Dan Quinn. So who else would you want to lead your defense? So to me, I have extreme confidence in this team going forward, but we all know just one playoff win is not going to cut it. All right, they're going to have to make a run out here, but to do that, you got to take care of the Green Bay Packers, and first things first, let's take care of them boys.
Yeah, we have no reason to doubt Coach McCarthy right now. Everything he's ever done here, obviously here with the Dallas Cowboys, has been nothing but a success, aside from making a big playoff run. Well, he's right back in position to do so with home field advantage this time around. You talked about his quarterback, Dak Prescott, and this offense. For the second year in a row, this offense has led the whole NFL in terms of scoring. Great job. Okay, now you look at the defense. Dan Quinn, these guys are still taking the ball away. Great job. You're relatively healthy coming into this game and to this playoff run. Great job as well. So why would you not have anything but confidence for Coach McCarthy? You're back at the crib, take care of business, and move on to the second round.
When you're consistent as Coach McCarthy, great things happen. Each year he gets a little bit better. He improved the offense not only with the scoring, with helping Dak be a better play caller, a better decision maker. He almost led the league with time of possession. That was the thing we needed to do if we was going to have our defense be strong. Things will be better and always get better with Mike McCarthy because I think he has a game plan.
No, I really like your point there of how they have improved every single year. 2020 missed the playoffs. 2021, you made the playoffs, lost in the wild card round. 22, made the playoffs, went to the divisional round, fell into the divisional round. If you're going to take the next step in 2023, that means you better make it to an NFC Championship game.
Yes.
So that's exactly what they have on the mind, is not only win the NFC Championship game or go to an NFC Championship game, but to seize everything. That Carpe Omnia that's been all the way back since the start of the preseason, that's been the goal, and it's all on the table today. It certainly helps to see a tick in the numbers offensively when you have a guy playing at the level of C.D. Lamb. He's been phenomenal. One of the best receivers in the NFL this season. If you don't believe me, take a look here. Leader in receptions, leader in scrimmage yards, leader in scrimmage touchdowns among all NFL wide receivers. Oh, and he was second to only Tyreek Hill in receiving yards, and he was third in touchdowns. That's just receiving touchdowns, though. And he was still third in that category. How big of an impact can CeeDee Lamb play tonight?
An extreme impact. But you believe it, as much as we're sitting up here about to talk about him, you know the Green Bay Packers are going to be keyed on him as well, simply because of the fact that how many of these plays go through CeeDee Lamb. This dude's getting 10-plus touches the majority of his games. So you talk about 10 receptions, 14 receptions. They're feeding him the rock. So you know if defensively, if you can come out there and have any kind of positive impact on CD to be able to slow him down or hinder his performance, then you're going to have an extreme production effect on the Dallas Cowboys. So as much as we want to feed CD, you still have to find some other receivers and other resources that you have to get the ball to, because you know that Green Bay is going to be locked in on him.
But you know, when you have a dictator, a guy that can dictate coverage, and you got to always know where he at, whether it's a linebacker underneath, whether it's a safety over the top. Man, he telling the defense what he going to do, and that's what we're loving about it.
Yeah, I believe CeeDee Lamb's going to have a big-time game this afternoon, whether that's catching the football and getting yards after the catch, or it's opening things up for the rest of his teammates out there. Whatever the case may be, he's going to have a big-time day. In Green Bay, they're in kind of a pickle right now, because if you put all your resources towards CeeDee Lamb and trying to lock him down, then that leaves Ferguson with one-on-ones. That leaves Cooks with one-on-ones. And we understand that those guys consistently through this regular season have been able to beat their one-on-ones. And if you decide to throw zone at Dak in this offense, we all understand Dak is a zone killer. So Green Bay, they're kind of in a pickle right now. It's rather pick your poison, and that's a good spot for the Dallas Cowboys.
So with his past postseason appearances, he hasn't been the level of what he's shown in the regular season. He hasn't been terrible, but he also hasn't been CeeDee Lamb. Is he the most valuable piece to this offense tonight if there were to be a number one piece?
Yes, because to me, we see when CeeDee Lamb is at his heights of his powers, when him and Dak are connecting, there's no other offense like it in the National Football League. And if you can't stop CeeDee Lamb, you cannot stop this Dallas Cowboys. So I expect him to go out there and have another big-time performance, not only for himself, but opening things up for his other teammates as well.
Yeah, the answer is yes, simply because of the fact that everybody else on offense is truly a complimentary player at this point in time. CeeDee Lamb is the offense for the Dallas Cowboys right now. We would like for it to be the running game. It hasn't been to date. But if you can find a way to get the running game going, if you can find a way to get the play-action game going, then you can start involving some of these other guys. But as long as you're trying to feed him the ball 14 times a game out of your 60 plays on offense, yeah, that is your key ingredient. Everybody else is just a support system.
Kyle, simply yes. CeeDee Lamb.
That works, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That works out.
Straight to the
They
point.
gave you the meat. They gave you the meat and potatoes. I would just give you a little
just
gravy.
give you a little gravy on top, just a little sprinkle on top of the cake.
Yeah.
He's been the best player on this offense.
Yes.
He really has. That's the number one thing. And if he plays well, it elevates Dak Prescott. I know Dak's probably the most valuable piece of this offense, but in terms of the whole thing clicking the way that it should, if you don't have CeeDee Lamb, you don't have the same level of offense that Dallas has had here in 2023. Speaking of not playing at a similar level that he would be anticipated to, but still with a 1,000-yard season, Tony Pollard. This is a Green Bay run defense that ranks 28th in the NFL. Can he get going tonight, Nate Newton? Is this a chance for Pollard to show out in a big way?
You know, before the game, me and Church was looking at Pollard. Pollard is not a small guy, but he's a big guy. He's, 6 foot, probably about 218. A lot of people think he's smaller than that. This kid is explosive. He's healthy. The problem has been is the inconsistency of the offensive line and us trying to scheme him open. The best way to get him some screens, get him some runs outside. Pollard is an explosive guy. Use him correctly, and if our offensive line play well, Pollard will have a great day.
That's right, Big Nate. I just told you the big fellas up front need to make some nice little holes for him. Because if they do so, you can get this man confident. And there's nothing more dangerous than somebody who is a professional athlete who has size, speed, power, and ability. And that's exactly what Tony Pollard has. And all he needs is a little dose of confidence. And if you get that, you're going to get a lights out Tony Pollard that you used to have in years past.
Look, I know hope is not a strategy. I understand that. But I hope the Dallas Cowboys use Tony Pollard out there and get the job done. Because like you guys said, when that offensive line opens up for him, These are explosive runs from Tony Pollard out there, and I love to see what he's able to do in this game against, like you said, Kyle, almost the worst rushing defense there is with Green Bay. So hopefully Pollard goes out there, gets the job done, because we all understand this offense is at its best when it's balanced, and Tony Pollard is working with it.
I mean, the buzzword so far today at AT&T Stadium has been opportunity. It's an opportunity to get the playoffs off in the right spot. It's an opportunity for a guy like Tony Pollard to have a big day against this Green Bay defense. And now we have the opportunity to talk to Cowboys COO Stephen Jones. What's
All
going
right,
on?
great being on, guys. I feel it. I feel it.
So you walked up, and the immediate reaction was to Nate's coat. If you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would it be?
10.5. I got it. I told him I got one like it, except it's green. It's Christmas.
You can't wear that today. You can't wear that today.
Royal blue and money today.
Royal blue and money
That's
green.
for my holiday sporting.
That's awesome. What is the excitement level like with the front office and really with the team to have a chance to be back in the postseason and be set up at home for this
I think
first
it's
two?
just the thrill of the urgency. I mean, we all know these guys played the game. They know what it's like. It's win or go home, and that meeting tomorrow, if you don't do the right thing, here's a bad meeting. And you're going to leave guys you won't see again, and this team won't be the same. So the urgency has got to be there. And I feel it with our group. The work's been put in. I was just listening to Darren Woodson up at a reception, and as he said, this game's already been won if you did things the right way. The preparation, the things these men do to get them prepared to go out and perform at a high level, which is what this is all about, is playoff football, and we'll have our work cut out for us. This is a really good Packer football team. They do a great job with their young quarterback. They run the ball well. They use the play action well to protect him. We'll have our hands full.
So you use the word intensity. A lot of, I guess, fans out there would say it's playoff nerves, and sometimes nerves can be a really good thing for an individual. Do you still get nervous in big games like this going into it?
And I'm not even doing anything except watching. I think that makes you more nervous because all you are is an observer in these things. But certainly, at the same time, we've done so much here, put it all out on the line out here in terms of, putting this team together. And, we just got a great group of men. Led by Dak, leading the way. I just think he's an amazing leader. And as you said, go out there. They'll have some nerves till that first lick or two gets passed, and then let's see how you respond. I think our guys will respond the right way. These guys know better than anybody.
You say preparation and getting the players ready. The game is already won. What does Coach McCarthy look like this week going into this preparation?
Well, he's just done a great job all year. I've never had so many comments from our veteran players, guys like Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence. He takes really good care of the veteran players, and I think he's got them in a place, to where they're fresh still. And he takes care of them week in and week out. No different. We did our preparation the same way. You just felt a different intensity level out there when you walked out on the field and saw the way the guys were focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, Steve, what does it mean for you and your family to be playing this first game in the playoffs at home?
Well, it's everything. I mean, we were, unfortunately, looking at a long shot prospect of being here, as you know, a month ago. And, our guys kept their head down. They kept grinding. Kept playing each and every week, and the things fell our way. So to be here in front of our crowd, our fans, obviously we've had a lot of success here at home. And this is where this team's comfortable, and I fully expect them to play their best football today.
What's your number one key to get the job done on the field tonight?
I think it's just execution on all three phases. Every guy's got to go out and do his job. We all know you got to protect the ball. And we all know Dan Quinn and the defense, we got to go get the ball. And if those things happen, if we can do that, which is a staple of this football team, Dak's done an amazing job protecting it all year. The defense done a great job of going to get it. If we can play that out here today, good things will happen to us.
Right quick, I'm feeling you, Stephen. I mean, he ain't stopped moving since he shot here. I'm feeling you. You get me hyped. You get me hyped, man.
Oh, man. I used to cover a kick or two for the Hogs in my day, so I know a little bit of it. Not at this level, but I know a little bit of it.
Okay. Every play matters. It is a next level intensity, and we're right there with you. We'll be up and down with you all the way through. Congratulations on getting to this point. Thanks so much for stopping by.
It's great being on. Go Cowboys.
There he goes, Cowboys COO Stephen Jones. Let's hear from DeMarcus Lawrence about the task at hand going into the Green Bay matchup.
Definitely feel like this team is way more advanced in the last couple of years. Just being under Mike McCarthy and DQ's system for, the last 3 years, just feel like we have a great understanding of our brotherhood here in this locker room and, how to play off each other and those little adjustments that we have to make game time. But, back to what I said earlier, it's really, all about us, and we're going to have fun doing it.
You talk about stopping the run. Can you talk about the growth of the run defense and the specific challenge?
Yeah, being able to, understand the assignment, being able to understand your D-line and your linebacker core, just all about flow, man. We got a lot of football under our belt. We know how to flow with each other and, play defense. So that's what we're going to do.
I mean, you talk about the challenge of Aaron Jones. You've faced him a few times. In the past, he's had success against y'all. What's the key to slowing that running game down, Aaron Jones?
Hit him. I'll be back there. D-Law playing too. Okay.
So DeMarcus Lawrence speaking on the challenge at hand, slowing down Aaron Jones. And we mentioned it a little bit early on. He's had some great success against the Cowboys all time. 3 games, and in the 3 games minimum, he has the best rushing yards per average than guys like Barry Sanders and Walter Payton. Out of anybody across the board, he is number 1 on that list. Isaiah, when you look at the film of Aaron Jones, what does he do well, and how will he challenge this Dallas defense?
This dude's patient and he's explosive. Those 2 things are a dangerous combination for any running back who has experience in this league, and that's exactly what he has. Aaron Jones can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can do a zone type of scheme where he's pushing the ball all the way to the edges. If you over pursue, he's going to cut it up inside. You have to have a sound presence. Everybody needs to be doing their responsibilities. You need your big fellas up front to be able to 2-gap. You're lucky that you have Mr. Jonathan Hankins back, because Aaron Jones has averaged 119 yards per game over the last 3 games. And that dude is toting the rock. Jonathan Hankins, during weeks 15 and 17, when he was out, everybody was averaging 160 against the Dallas Cowboys front. As soon as Jonathan Hankins came back, it goes down to 100 on the ground. So obviously his presence is huge, and that in terms of trying to shut down Aaron Jones.
Look, speed. All right, that's exactly what Aaron Jones brings to the table. This guy is electric, and his change of direction is only matched by maybe Christian McCaffrey out there. This guy can go out there and stop on a dime, and he has the speed and acceleration to really do harm to your defense. Defensively for the Dallas Cowboys, they've got to be gap sound. All right, there can be no hero ball out here, and what I mean by that is trying to make every single play out there. If you got to stay in the A-gap, stay your butt in the A-gap. All right, trust that your other teammate on the outside is going to have contain, and those linebackers are going to be able to come downhill. That's where Hankins comes in for sure. Being that big gap stopper in there to hold those offensive linemen from getting to the second level, allowing Clark, allowing Bell to do what they do coming downhill without having to wrestle against these 300-pound offensive linemen. He's going to be huge in this contest, but you've got to contain Aaron Jones, because if he goes out there and does what we've seen his numbers are, then the Cowboys defense are going to be in trouble.
The acceleration that you talk about, Barry, is so true. And he's a lean guy. He's a slim guy. So you mistake him when you coming up to tackle him. If you don't put a shoulder on him, he will run through you. This kid is explosive. And then when you think you can stop him from running, they're going to swing past him out there. Are they going to give him a screen? This guy is dynamic. Our defense, like you said, Barry, will have to be gap control. Was that Isaiah?
They both said it a little bit. They both talked about it. Aaron Jones missed 3 games earlier in the year, just a triplet of games where you didn't have him. This Packers team did not play well offensively without him in the fold. With him back in the fold these last 3 games, all won by Green Bay, he had at least 100 yards rushing. So if he's able to hit those triple figures and get up to that level, it's something that Dallas is going to have to combat. But you mentioned it, Jonathan Hankins being back in that final game of the regular season. Nate, you've gone up against some big guys like Jonathan Hankins in the past. How much can he help the run defense.
He's everything because he eat up two blockers all the time. It's not a one time where you can single block him. He's good, and he's and refs, please don't be listening. He got a little knack of tugging a jersey here and there, so them linebackers can run free.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now you just said it right there. This guy can hold up two offensive linemen. It's not necessarily what he can do in the pass rush or getting that early penetration. It's how he helps out that second level, because we understand that second level is kind of undersized when you look at linebackers out here. If he's able to hold those guards up and that center up from getting to the second level and getting hands on Clark, getting hands on Bell, it'll make this defense so much better because those guys will be able to get downhill, use their speed to go sideline to sideline, and match a guy like Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Big Hankins is one of those nagging flies. You know, like you know what I'm saying? Osa and those guys are like the regular flies, and then Big Hankins coming, he's that big horse fly. He's that one that comes in, you're like, what is that, right? And you just don't want to deal with him, right? So Big Hankins is a complete disruptor. He frees up everybody around him. He allows D-Law to have one-on-ones, Osa to have one-on-ones, Micah to have one-on-ones. And you talked about the second-level defenders for the Dallas Cowboys. Damone Clark, all right, Marquise Bell, you know, everybody else in the secondary, Kurz, Dono, all you guys have to see a gap and hit a gap. Don't just second-guess yourself. Come down there, trust your keys, and make a play.
So you mentioned those two because Jonathan Hankins does play so much a factor at the second level. We might as well talk about him. Damone Clark and Marquise Bell, how much of an impact can they play tonight on the defensive side?
I think it can be huge, especially when you talk about Aaron Jones coming out of the backfield and being a receiver out of the backfield. You're going to need somebody on that second level that can run with him. Not necessarily step for step, but can at least make it hard for him coming out for a route. And I think that's where Marquise Bell comes in handy. Earlier in the season, Marquise Bell was going against a guy like Austin Eckler, who has the same type of dynamics when you talk about coming out of the backfield and being a receiver. He did an amazing job of limiting on Austin Eckler as a receiver. I think he can do that same thing with Aaron Jones and Damone Clark. You're going to have to be that downhill, sideline to sideline guy that keeps Aaron Jones compacted in within his defense, because if he gets loose, like I mentioned earlier, it can be trouble.
I want Damone Clark, hopefully before this game, to go back and watch his YouTube highlights from college. Okay. The reason why, because I want him to reinstill the confidence that he once had. I think that he's a good linebacker, but he's been questioning his abilities in the NFL. Don't question yourself. These coaches trust you. If you're playing on a Dan Quinn defense, then he trusts you. He trusts your abilities. He trusts your decision making. Now just go out there and trust yourself. Get these linemen's hands off you, play behind your big fellas up front, and go hit somebody in the chest.
So you're trying to ask for his inner Tiger to come out. Those inner LSU Tigers. LSU. What about a Lion that's playing next to him and Micah Parsons? Where can he play the biggest impact tonight? Because I asked where, not why or how. We know why and how he's going to make an impact, but where can he play the most impact tonight?
If this kid come out and set the edges and make sure that Jones and A.J. Dillon, if he's playing, not be able to run outside, run that thing back into Hankins. That way Bell and Damone Clark can come down here. If Micah Parsons want to be the man he talk about being, that line that will roar, get involved in that run game and immerse yourself in it.
Yeah, take advantage of the run game, but also do what you did all regular season long. You were the league's leader in quarterback hurries. You were also the league's leader in quick quarterback hurries, which is under 2.5 seconds. You also were the league leader in quarterback hurries versus double teams. You won all those categories. So continue to show up tonight because they're going to make sure they pay attention to you. Continue to be that disruptor and be a mismatch nightmare. If they decide to play man-to-man against you, yeah, let them know who you are.
Yeah, just like Nate said, it all starts with the run. This guy has got to be a dominant force in the run game. But then just like Isaiah said, get after Jordan Love. I mean, this is a guy, like we talked about earlier, who's kind of riding on that wave. He's riding on that confidence wave right now. The last 6 games or last 8 games, 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. You got to make this guy feel uncomfortable right now. Knock that confidence out early so we can get back to the regular Jordan Love that we saw earlier in the season.
So you talked about Jordan Love. There's a lot of respect between Micah Parsons and the first-year starter at quarterback, and he talked about it early in the week in media availability about why you have to respect number 10 behind center.
Yeah, you know, start off hot, you know, had some trials, tribulations, covered them all year. I think Jordan Love grown towards this end of the year, this back end stretch into the player that the Packers thought he would be at that pick they took him. So a lot of people questioned why they took him, and I think he's proven a lot of people wrong. One of the greatest seasons by a Packer as a starter. So, you know, Jordan Love's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. It's something we talked about in the offseason. It was like, man, I'm going to go out there and ball out. So super happy for him.
Does he look on film like the same guy you played last year, even though the other guy was Aaron Rodgers? Some of the same.
A lot of styles. You know, he trusts his receivers to go make throws. You could tell he played under Rodgers. Some of his mechanics, some of his movements and reads. and fearlessness. You could tell he learned a lot from Rodgers.
Over the final 8 games of the regular season, Jordan Love had one of the best runs in the NFL. Take a look at his NFL ranks. He was tops in yardage, tops in offensive touchdowns. He had 18 touchdowns to 1 interception in the final 7 games. So he was even better in the final stretch where they needed Jordan Love to be at his best. This is not the same Packers offense that started the year. Isaiah, when you look at what he brings to the table, how can he hurt Dallas?
Well, it's the same offense that Dallas runs, and that's how he can hurt you. It's a West Coast offense. They like to get the ball out of their hands relatively quickly. They overload you in terms of their personnel groupings and their formations. They like to run a lot of 3-by-1 sets. That creates a lot of confusion in terms of whether you're playing man or playing zone. But I think that Jordan Love, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that Jordan Love can hurt you. A lot of their stuff that they do, just like Dallas, relies on the timing of the quarterback and his drop back and being able to get out of his hand on time. If he doesn't have that, if he has to hesitate, I foresee this being a multiple interception game for the Dallas defense today.
You know, I kind of disagree a little bit because I think Matt LaFleur did a great job these last 7 games making sure this kid had the equalizer, and the equalizer is Matt Jones. So if we stop Matt Jones, then I will go with you, Isaiah. But if we don't stop Matt Jones, LaFleur, Jordan Love may have a great day.
It might as well. Barry, I want to ask, how can Dallas disrupt him specifically? Do they just put him off his spot and pressure him? Is it as simple as that?
No, I don't think it's as simple as that, because I think, they're going to have a plan for Jordan Love out there as far as moving the pocket, getting him outside. They don't want him to sit as far as being a statue in the pocket, because we know that's what Dan Quinn defense loves. If you're a statue in the pocket, they're going to take advantage of you. So they're going to move the pocket with him a little bit, and that's where Micah Parsons, that's where D-Law and those guys are going to have to come into effect. They've got to set the edge. There can't be any rushing past the quarterback there and him stepping up and making a play that way, because we saw that happen with Geno Smith in Seattle. He was able to step up in the pocket and make big-time throws, and I believe Jordan Love has that similar skill set to a Geno Smith. So to me, what this Cowboys defense are going to have to do, set the edges, keep him in the pocket, and make him make plays from the pocket.
He has 6 games this year with at least 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. That's 5th most in Packers history behind only Aaron Rodgers. So there's some things to look forward to with Jordan Love, but he also has some weapons to throw the football to. He's got some young weapons to throw the football to. All 3 of these guys are under 25 years old. The oldest receiver they have on their roster is Christian Watson, who, of course, had a 3-touchdown matchup against the Cowboys last year. Isaiah, do you love this or do you hate this if you're a Cowboys fan looking at a young wide receiver core that's been hot down the stretch?
I hate the fact that there's not one guy that you can key in on. Yeah. That's what I don't like. When you look at their statistics, a lot of it's kind of across the board. 5 touchdowns, 8, right? 400 to 600 yards receiving. So you don't have a guy that you can key in on. So that really goes back to what I was talking about in terms of their concepts. And he really gets, based upon what the concepts are, he's able to find the guy that's going to be best suitable for that particular play. And he finds them, makes the sticks move, and they try to take the top off with that big number 9 right there you see on your screen. But outside of that, I'm not convinced again.
Jaden Reed is the guy that I fear. Out of all of these wide receivers, I fear Jaden Reed because he always makes that play when he needs it most. When Jordan Love needs that play the most, Jaden Reed always shows up. So watch out for number 11.
Yeah, Isaiah, you make a great point there when you talk about Jordan Love being able to spread the ball around. There's not really a key guy to lock in on. And as a defender, you hate that because usually you want to see 3rd down, he's going to go to this guy. So let's go ahead and double this guy. Or let's take this guy away from him, and then he'll scramble a little bit. But when he has all those options out there and he loves to spread the ball around, it makes it hard for a defense out there. But I'm going to say Dallas has the advantage when it comes to this because neither of these guys have been into the postseason. And we all understand preseason is different than regular season, just like the postseason is a different beast than the regular season. If you never experienced it, you don't know how to act upon it. So to me, the advantage has got to go to the Cowboys.
Do you feel like a young receiving core in that same manner can hurt you, though?
Yeah, because they don't know any different. They don't know, so they think they belong. Just like anybody else, they believe they belong, and it's up to the Cowboys secondary and the Cowboys defense to make these guys realize you're not on that level yet, young fella.
It is an interesting thought process because there's experience on one side, youth on the other side, and it doesn't always line up the way you expect it to be. I think that's where some of those good nerves that we talked about with Stephen Jones a little bit earlier can certainly play a factor. All right, gentlemen, we've got to move sets. We've got to get off the field. You can see it. It's getting nice and intense behind us. Playoff time is here. The rally towels are already waving. We're going to move inside the Miller Lighthouse. But first, as we do that, let's check in with our very own Nick Harris in studio.
Carpe Omnia, or seize everything. It's the team motto that was instituted by Mike McCarthy just days before the season started, and now we sit 18 weeks later with another playoff run impending for the Dallas Cowboys. Fortunately for those in the building, this has become the norm under McCarthy, but the success of the postseason has yet to come to fruition. But heading into the playoffs this time around, the setup couldn't be any better for the Cowboys to make their deepest postseason run since 1995. They are guaranteed at least 2 home playoff games in the wild card and divisional rounds. They get to avoid the San Francisco 49ers until a potential NFC Championship game, and they get to duck arguably the hottest team in the NFC and the Los Angeles Rams until a potential conference championship as well. It's all aligned for the Cowboys to make a deep run and contend for not only an NFC title, but also a Super Bowl. Let's dive into the positive. What could go right for the Cowboys, and what could help them get to that game in Las Vegas a month from now? I think the obvious starts with the most reliable and consistent thing that a Cowboys team has had in some time, and that's the connection between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. It's already been solidified as the best quarterback to receiver connection in franchise history with Lamb's multiple franchise records, and it has the potential to be a postseason staple in 2023.
Just making it clear for him so he don't have no uncertainty, and just once again playing fast and having him know exactly where I'm going to be before I'll be there, and me being there like he trusts me to be. So just being on the same page, all that offseason work is this is what we needed to show up, and yeah, man, we got to be great.
Next, things were looking rough on the defensive side of the ball in the loss to Buffalo. In the absence of Jonathan Hankins, the Cowboys defense gave up more rushing yards in that game than they had in any game since 2013, and were run out of Orchard Park with a loss reminiscent of the one they took in Santa Clara earlier in the season. But now Hankins is back healthy, and the defense is coming off a stretch that has seen them limit opponents to just 88 rushing yards per game and 17 points per game in the final 3 games.
You know, it starts with us up front. We got to be dominant up front, get a lot of bend back, get a lot of movement. I feel like we can do it, we're capable. We showed it already. We just got to continue to do it Sunday.
Lastly, pertaining specifically to the game today, the Cowboys have a great opportunity to use one thing to their advantage to win this game. And no, this time it is actually not the fact that they're playing at AT&T Stadium. Winning the time of possession battle has been critical in determining the outcome of games this season, with the Cowboys going 8-2 when winning that stat category. When they possess the ball for more than 35 minutes, that number is a pure 6-0. The Packers defense is adept at not only allowing explosive pass plays, sitting in the top 10 of 20-plus yard pass plays allowed this year, and it's a result of their zone shell defense looks that keep everything underneath and force opposing offenses to work their pass game in the short to intermediate range. With as fast as Dak Prescott and this offense likes to get the ball out, that actually works perfectly. That will only help sustain long drives and take big chunks off the clock as a result. On top of that, on the flip side, the Packers defense is one of the worst in the NFL in allowing explosive run plays, rushing gains of 10 or more yards. With the way the running game behind Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle has stacked confidence over the last couple of weeks, it might be perfect timing for a rushing explosion at AT&T Stadium to both help power the offense and put another stake into claiming that time of possession battle. But it's just one small battle in an NFC war over the next few weeks that will see the victor take its armor to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas to compete in the Super Bowl. For one of only a few times since 1995, the Cowboys are situated to have a shot at winning the whole thing. Will they seize everything? That answer starts today. Back to you, Kyle.
So this is a celebration. Everything we put in back in the spring, training camp, hey, we came on a mission. It's capture or kill. And we don't capture shit. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3, win!
The whiteout in full effect at AT&T Stadium in Arlington as we continue to count you down to kickoff of Wild Card 2023. The Dallas Cowboys welcoming in the Green Bay Packers as we welcome you in to the Miller Lite Club. We've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. The crew continues, but we're just in a little bit of a different set. NFL playoff rules, we got to be off the field at a certain time, so that's why we're here still bringing you the coverage as we continue on some Cowboys pregame live. So, gentlemen, we just heard about Carpe Omnia.
certainly a goal for this Cowboys team all the way through. How much does that change, though, and how much does the confidence build now that you get to play it at home and the home field advantage that they've had all year?
I don't think the mantra or the motto should change. Seize everything. That's what they're here to do. If it's at home, it's away, whatever the case may be. This team is looking to make a run in the playoffs. They're not going to be settled with just one victory here, maybe a victory there. They want this whole thing, and that's why the shirt says seize everything. So the mantra stays the same, and the confidence should stay the same as well.
Yeah, I'm all about it, man. And then back in the day, we used to say, you got to get it while the getting is good.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's going on right now. You're at the crib. Things are laid out perfectly for you. You have an opponent that you feel like you have the advantage in terms of personnel. Go out there, carpe omnia, seize everything, and go back to the next round really to go. Yep.
I tell you what, I can tell you about seize everything, the carpe and all of that. I can't pronounce. But I tell you what, they have taken advantage of ever since training camp. Downtime, the 49ers, coming into Philadelphia. They seized all of these moments, and now they're taking advantage of it. That's going to give them a great shot at winning this game today.
Do you know any Latin, Big Nate? Is Latin
a little pig Latin. That's about it. That's about it. Eat all you can eat.
We're learning just like Nate all day, every day. All right, let's talk about this pass rush and what they brought to the table from Green Bay. Ranked 6th in the NFL in terms of pressure rate. And here you see some of the 3 guys that you should keep an eye on. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, and Kenny Clark have all had really good years at the front 7 for that Packers team. Barry, when you look at what they do best, what is it?
I think it's rushing from the interior when you talk about Kenny Clark and being able to get up in there and make pressure from the front. We all understand at a quarterback position, and I know, Isaiah, you can attest to this, but when you're getting that pressure up front, it makes it hard. When you get those edge pressures, you can step up in the pocket and still make a comfortable throw. But if you got a guy like Clark come breathing down your neck, it makes it extremely hard offensively.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Barry. No quarterback wants the pressure right in front of his face. And these guys up front, they're big boys, right? And they like the 2 gap, right? Big Nate Dogg knows a little something about that. That means that these boys want to grab your shoulder pass and drive you straight back into the quarterback. What I believe that they do best is their defensive coordinator really sets them up, much like Dan Quinn does, for one-on-one matchups. The second level, Randy Gary,
Yes.
he does a great job of being able to isolate right on the running backs when he knows the running back has pass blocking. And he is a big boy, 6'4", 250 pounds. He's a hard matchup when you talk about a running back stepping up to block him.
Number 97, Kenny Clark. He's funny because he is a great 2-gapper. He will get down on you, but he's got enough quickness to get to the side of you and work half a man. And that's where he can mess up the middle of that pocket. And that's where Preston Smith will come off that end. So we have to be technique sound. We have to make sure that pocket stays deep so our tackles can run with those defensive ends.
How does the offensive line stack up against a team that presents a challenge defensively like Green Bay does?
What they have to do is have some type of run consistency, because if you slow them down and make them 2-gap, that means they're coming up and reading first. But if you allow them to, if we get behind the chains and they have to pass, now the pass moves come, and that's where we're at a disadvantage.
I like this because it looks like we're back in studio. And he's going forward and back.
I'm trying to seize it, man. I'm trying to seize everything.
Yeah, seizing everything. By the way, Chris Beam, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Beam.
Happy birthday, Beamer. Camera helping us set up here inside the Miller Lite Club. With what they've done from a pressure standpoint, Dallas has done a nice job of avoiding it and giving Dak Prescott some time to throw. How much could that help out a Brandon Cooks if he's given time to throw behind that line of scrimmage?
It can mean everything to a guy like Cooks, because we all understand what he brings to the table as far as taking the top off of the defense. And if Dak Prescott has the time back there to go ahead, go through his progressions, look safeties off, he's got an opportunity to find Brandon Cooks deep. And if all the attention, like I think, is going to go to CeeDee Lamb, Cooks will have a lot of one-on-ones on that backside against cornerbacks that I know he can cook out there. So to me, if they give him time, look for big Cooks to go over the top.
Yeah, I know you guys keep hearing the word cook, but we're looking for Cooks to cook today because a lot of attention is going to be paid to CeeDee Lamb. And yes, you may hear that a lot of times throughout the regular season, but one thing that coaches are not going to allow is in the playoffs, they are going to put a lot of attention on your number 1 playmaker, especially when so much of Dallas's offense runs through CeeDee Lamb. That's going to allow Brandon Cooks now, who is all he does is get 1,000 yards. This is probably his first year he's not had 1,000 yards in a very long time. However, he's still capable. So pay attention to CeeDee if you want to. Cooks is going to cook.
He's a professional. He's the type of guy the reason he's played 8, 9, 10 years, because he's a professional. Remember, it started out slow for him, but as the year went on, he's picked it up more and more. And I think he's scored in the last 3 or 4 games. And I'm going to tell you what he's going to score on. He's going to get you down in that red zone. He's going to hit you, and then he's going to go to that corner. And you ain't going to be able to stop it. It ain't going to be stopped.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
No. He has 8 touchdowns this year, too, which is second most in his career. A lot of that came down the stretch. He's had a touchdown in each of the last 3 games of the regular season. He's turned into a red zone threat. So has Jake Ferguson. At the same time, there have been times throughout the year where this offense needed somebody to step up in the red zone. Jake Ferguson was that initial answer. With both of those guys and the way that they've continued to grow, is that a safety blanket enough for Dak Prescott having Ferguson to throw the football to?
Yes, because I believe he's the ultimate security blanket. Like we saw last year with Schultz and in previous years with Jason Witten, I think Ferguson has really come into his own of being that guy that if you want to cover him one-on-one, he has the speed to outrun a linebacker. If you put a safety down on him, he knows how to use his body out there to protect and give Dak Prescott a window to throw it to. So to me, Jake Ferguson has become that ultimate security blanket for Dak Prescott in the red zone, in the open field. It doesn't matter, and I expect Ferguson to have another big afternoon.
Well, you know what? It's 12 degrees outside, and all of us, whenever it's cold outside, we grab our favorite blanket. Yep. Okay, and being that we grab our favorite blanket, you best believe that Dak Prescott's going to do the exact same thing today. You want to pay attention to CD? You want to go ahead and take care of Cooks? I got a Ferguson out here that I love to eat. And by the way, they're also starting to work in Hendershot. This is a holistic group that they have there at the tight end position, and they're starting to do some real things.
Y'all know I've been in love with this kid from Wisconsin, man. He's been doing his thing all year. He's been a great blocker for a great helper for Steele. He's also a blanket for him. But you know what? That seam thing, he's doing it like no other. I'm loving him.
Who else needs to step up on the offense if you expect them to have the success that they've had all year long?
Hey, you know what? I want Lipke to get a few carries.
Okay.
I really do. I just want them to beat up Green Bay the best they can. Rico Dowdle, those two guys, they need to beat them up. And that way our boy, your boy, can get out there, Mr. Pollard.
Yes, I need Rico Dowdle to have 10 carries.
Okay.
And I know that people are going to look at me and say, well, you're crazy.
Why are you taking away Pollard's carries?
Listen, I know that's the go-to.
We've been trying to get Pollard some carries.
Is your franchise tag player.
Yes, he is.
However, Pollard is one of the best complementary backs this game has seen in a very long time. So allow him to be that. Stop putting more on him than he can handle. You went through a whole season of him trying to become what you want him to become. Allow him to be what he is. That's a great complementary back. Let Rico get the ball, get downhill, and then let Tony Pollard hit him with the ooh-wee.
I know you guys both went offensively, but if you allow me to, I like to go on the defensive side of the football.
The defensive side.
I need those 2 linebackers, whether it's Bell or whether it's Clark, whatever the case may be. You guys have got to go out there and ball this afternoon. I know that front offensive line are going to try to cut to that second level. Use your hands. Get them guys up off you. Get downhill and tackle Aaron Jones back there, because like we said earlier, if he has a big day, that means this defense is in trouble. I need those linebackers to ball out.
We've seen it far too many times.
Yeah.
Unsung heroes make differences in playoff games. It happens all day, every day. We've seen it already in the first 2 playoff games in the NFL this year. One of the unsung heroes for the Cowboys this year, though, has been Brandon Aubrey. He's been fantastic, made his first 35 kicks to start his career, an unbelievable streak that came to an end in the regular season finale, but he's not too worried about missing those kicks. One was a block, one was a mix, and then he came back and he knocked one through from 50 yards out. Here's what he said about that confidence level entering the playoffs.
Just all it is a missed kick. Doesn't take off pressure, doesn't add on pressure. It's just individual rep that didn't get exactly the way I wanted it. So if anything, it gave me something to reflect on and a bad kick to understand what could go wrong and what to not do.
We've talked before about pressure and how you treat each kick as its own kick. What are some of those pressure handling techniques that you double down on here for the postseason?
Yeah, it's just breathing and talking to myself, going through that process, making sure I go through each and every step the same, and keeping my mind clear of thoughts of the outcome and just focusing on the process.
So is your confidence level still the same, much like Brandon Aubrey's after the 2 kicks last week that didn't necessarily go his way, but he had a chance to right the ship at the end?
Oh, I'm super confident. You make 35 kicks in a row like that, I mean, you got the sauce you need to go out here and do the same thing in the playoffs.
Get the ball across the 40-yard line. I feel real good about BA's chances.
We had the crib. He's invincible.
There it is.
So Nate loves talking about kickers. He loves it. It's his favorite thing. What do you have to say about an all-pro kicker like Brandon Aubrey and what he's done this year? How impressive has it been?
He blew me away because, you know, we spoke of the kickers early during the year. I'm like, yeah, a kicker. Come on, fellas.
Whatever.
But you know what? This guy has proven his worth. He's confident. And even with those 2 misses, the block and the miss, he just shook it off, man. His demeanor did not change. And when you got a guy that can stay even kill, you got a special guy.
it really feels like that's the case across the board from a special teams unit. You have an all-pro kicker, you have a Pro Bowl punter, you should have had a Pro Bowl deep snapper at the same time.
Yes.
I mean, there are multiple reasons why this special teams unit has been fantastic. Let's talk about the coordinators that have helped get them to this point. We'll start with special teams and John Fossils. How big is it to have John Fossil play the role that he does, and how impressive has it been to put this special teams unit where they are?
It's been extremely impressive just seeing what Coach Fossil has been able to do with this special teams unit. I think every year he's been here, he's had either an all-pro or a Pro Bowl special teamer, from Kevontae Turpin to Aubrey to the punter as well.
Yeah.
So to me, he's done an amazing job of letting these guys know and understand that special teams is a big part of this team. You know, everybody likes to talk about offense, everybody likes to talk about defense, but you're not winning some of these games without solid kicking from your kickers and without solid coverage from your special teams unit. So to me, Fossil has done an extremely good job.
Yeah, Bones Fossil was an absolute goon. I mean, you talk about his career, he's always had somebody in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Absolutely ever. I think he's one of the few coaches that have had all three specialists actually make the Pro Bowl. He almost had it this year, okay? But he did a great job getting these guys prepared. And you start talking about the possession game, right? Yeah. His ability to cross the 40-yard line and know that you're confident being able to kick a field goal. His ability to have Ryan Anger be able to change the field of possession by kicking the ball all the way across 60-plus yard punts. And then you talk about if you want to punt the ball to Kevontae Turpin, you're probably skying that thing up or you're kicking it out of bounds just because of what he can do against you. So his units are a huge attribute to this Dallas Cowboys team, and you're going to continue to see it show up through the playoffs.
We're talking about the kickers, but remember he put Sam Williams out there as a force?
Yep.
Yes.
Remember him, the shot blocking?
Yes.
He's done some nice things. And I talked to him before the year. We was out in training camp. I'm like, man, what's with this kicker, Aubrey? This dude, a soccer player? He said, that's my guy. 2 weeks later, he get rid of everybody. You see what's happening. He's done a great job this year.
Who's under more pressure tonight as a coordinator, Dan Quinn or Brian Schottenheimer on the offensive or defensive side?
Oh, I'm going to have to say that, man, that's a tough one right there. But I'm going to have to say Dan Quinn is under a little bit more pressure because I believe he has the harder contest as far as going against Green Bay's offense as opposed to Schottenheimer going against Green Bay's defense. I believe Green Bay's offense has some firepower on the outside, which we all know that this defense, if you don't get pressure on the quarterback, they can be susceptible to big-time plays. We saw it in the Seattle game. So to me, the pressure is on Dan Quinn to make sure they contain this explosive firepower that Green Bay has.
Yeah, I'm going with Dan Quinn as well. Yep. And it's kind of weird to say that Dan Quinn has all the pressure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Dan Quinn has to try to find a way to shut down this Green Bay's offense, either the passing game or the running game. He has to find a way to make these guys one-dimensional. You can't allow them to have this balanced offense that they've had going forward. And if he's able to do so, then obviously this Dallas Cowboys will be in a good position to win the ball game.
Once again, we got to all agree because Dan Quinn got to control this thing because Jordan Love has not failed since the 8th or 9th game of the regular season. This guy believes that he can come in and throw his team to victory. So it's going to come down to Dan Quinn.
It certainly is. I mean, that's the thing is Dan Quinn's calling plays defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy is calling the plays offensively. So probably a little bit more pressure on Dan Quinn. Of course, you can talk about the coaching rumors all you want. They've been asked about it throughout the week, and this team all had the same mentality. Let's win it because this is the last time, possibly the last time, you're going to have Dan Quinn as your defensive coordinator. So if that's the case, they're going to try and do everything they can to go out in a big way with him at the helm. Now, it's time to give our keys to the game. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers Wild Card 2023 here from AT&T Stadium. We do this every week, but it's a little bit different because it's playoff time. What do you think is going to be the key to the game to get a job done?
You got to shut down Jordan Love's confidence early. I mean, this guy, I've said it a million times, he's riding on a wave right now. 18 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He doesn't know any better. He thinks he belongs as far as that upper echelon with the quarterbacks is concerned, so you got to shut him down early.
I need 2 interceptions.
Okay.
I think that the way that he throws the ball, I'm not convinced. I know his stat line says differently. I think that the way the system is set up, if he has to hold the ball longer than 2.5 seconds, and if he wants to loft the ball like his ball likes to go, he doesn't really have the velocity behind it. I think we get a couple interceptions. We need those.
I think we have to score early and often. That way Dan Quinn can get the pressure that we're looking at. If we score, then that lets them know, you're in the playoffs, and we just turning up the gas. We just mashing the brake. We're dispatching the gas, not the brakes. Stop, no brakes, all gas.
No brakes.
Yes.
I love it. That's mine goes hand in hand with yours. get the crowd into it early. It's playoff time. It's the wide out. You've got a lot of energy in the building. Use that to your advantage. Let your defense pin their ears back, play their best football of the year, and then, of course, take care of business in Wild Card Round 2023. We have post-game coverage coming your way following the final whistle. Cowboys OT, Cowboys Game Night, and the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper, all streaming on DallasCowboys.com. We have had so much fun previewing this matchup, but it's time to play the games. Time to seize everything for the Dallas Cowboys. For our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, for Nick Eatman, Nicole Hutchison, Nate Newton in the blue jacket, for Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game, everybody. 3:30 kickoff on Fox. That does it for Cowboys Pregame Live.